Still taking lessons from the Osun Decides 2022 as a guide to citizens' approach towards elections. Osun State had the highest number of newly registered voters nationwide before the 2023 general election, 708,771. Did they turn up in the election? If yes, how did they vote? The answer is empirical and not phantasmagoric. Total votes got by the three leading candidates in Osun Decide 2018 was 638,577. Total votes got by the two leading candidates in Osun Decide 2022 is 778,398. The increase is around 139,821. 139,821 out of a possible 708,771 newly registered voters is not exactly a game changer. There are many barriers to voting in Nigeria, and anyone who has been part of an actual political structure has come up against them before. It is one thing to get people to register, another to get them to complete the process, another to get INEC to release their PVC. It is still another thing to get people to pick up their PVC. Then after they pick it up, another struggle to ensure they show up on election day and vote in the direction that you want them to vote. Getting them to even show up is in fact my own personal worst nightmare. In 2011, I guided friends to the final stage of getting their PVC in my hood so I could deliver my polling unit, only for them to decide to hang out with chicks in the long election weekend of no movement from Friday night. Election day for many Nigerians is another public holiday. Things like getting people to register to vote is basic political operations that nobody who is part of an established political structure comes online to talk about. Dark operatives in fact ensure that polling unit of an opponent is filled in a way as to make them lose their polling units. The INEC staff that didn't resume on time to register voters is probably in the house of a major party chieftain conducting registration for new voters. When they resume, a chieftain also provides them with canopy, generator, refreshments. These things are basic to politics. Regardless of that, nobody goes into an election banking on a voting base that has never voted before. It's like going to war with untested soldiers. And there is a psychological dimension. Someone who didn't bother to register to vote in previous cycle is less likely to vote. There is an old woman somewhere who has voted in every election since the 1970s. Hers was a generation that took voting as a civic duty and responsibility. Even on days when she is ill, she still comes out to vote. Understand the psychology behind the numbers. Having your bath on a Saturday morning when you are not going to work is difficult. Having your bath, ignoring Netflix, and stepping out of your house is more difficult too. Then you now have to queue with people in your hood that you don't flow with, under the sun or the rain. Explaining this so that we all understand why the system is the way it is and why 5,000 naira can motivate your local vulcanizer to go and vote for established party while you are using that election day as a holiday or having good sex with your partner. Balance this fact with the understanding that established parties have chieftains in every locality who are registering sure voters that will turn up to vote, but they still won't rely on them as game changer. Now go back to the numbers in Osun and check where the numbers went. Osun did not have the highest numbers of newly registered voters by happenstance, or any online movement, or by coming to complain about INEC. PDP and the candidate realized a need to expand the voting base because only a close election such as the in 2018 can be rigged by APC. The numbers you saw from Osun were the result of massive local operations to register new voters. APC only caught on to it when INEC released the stats. No noise, no fanfare, no complaints. Just see the problem and pursue the solution by putting in the work Even with all that, 708,771 people registered to vote. 360,548 bothered to complete the process. 335,298 actually picked up their PVCs. Only a guesstimate of 139,821 turned out to vote on election day with Osun Decide 2022. These are things to learn from. It's very possible a percentage of that numbers previously had PVCs but just didn't bother to vote in 2018. The turning out numbers from newly registered to actual votes cannot be a surprise to anyone who has been part of a political structure. Human nature is very consistent. It's even possible that the new voters who voted only turned out in 4 or 5 local governments because leaders there ran a very smooth mobilization operation. And that's the problem with these things. You can walk off your head in 29 local government areas and still lose because one compromised. To scale such a plan nationwide requires deep commitment that only comes from a sort of relationships forged over the years. Nobody in politics celebrates too much over new voters. It's probably the most fickle voting base for so many reasons. Osun State recorded the highest number of newly registered voters, but if Osun Decide 2022 reflected it reflected in favor of either any of the big political party, and the number speaks. Osun Decide 2022 is a perfect instance of human behavior, and it points to why either PDP or APC or any other political party is sure of winning any upcoming election if INEC is fair. With all this narration, you will agree with me that vote buying in Nigerian election is not going to stop anytime soon. Thank you for watching today's episode of Motherland. Do well to encourage us by liking and subscribing to our channel. See you in our next episode.